Hi, and welcome to Mrs. PM Reads, where we are continuing in the historical fiction. A pelican just flew by. Sorry. Wow. Anyway, The Magic Circle by Katherine Neville. And to keeping it brief on the synopsis, in our last video, we were in AD 60. We still are in AD 60. And we were hearing about Claudius, Nero, their conquest to conquer Britain. And then we were hearing about an island they were getting ready to attack during Beltane. I think it was May 1st, which is a Druid holiday. And they thought they'd catch them unsuspecting, and yet they were very prepared, and there was a huge battle. And that is where we stopped. We don't know who won. That's just where the natural stop was. Joseph of Arimathea stood beside Lavernios at the edge of the cliff. He couldn't help but recall that other sunset when he'd stood on another cliff beside his friend and watched the sea turn to blood. A sunset 25 years ago on another coast of another country when it had all begun. When perhaps it could have been stopped. But now, as the screams from the beach below filled his ears, he turned to Lavernios in horror. "We must intervene," Joseph cried, grasping his friend by the arm. "We must help them. We must do something to make it stop. They are not even defending themselves. The Romans have turned their own torches upon them. They've set fire to their hair and their clothes, and they're cutting them to bits. Yuck." The Druid stood immobile. He only flinched slightly when, over the terrible clamor and screams, he heard the sound of axes ringing back from the rocks and realized for the first time what the Romans were really bent upon. They were going to obliterate the sacred grove. Lavernios didn't look at Joseph, nor did he glance at the carnage on the beach below that represented not only the massacre of his people, but the destruction of everything they believed and cherished, the twilight of their whole way of life, even of their gods. Instead, he gazed out to sea as if in that western twilight he could see another place, another time in the distant past or far more distant future. When at last he spoke to Joseph, the words sounded remote and strange, like echoes from some dank, bottomless well. "When Essus died, you had the strength of your wisdom," he reminded Joseph. "You knew what to do, and you did it. You tried to comprehend the meaning of his life and death, and you have never ceased to do so these nearly 30 years. True wisdom, however, lies not only in understanding what can or cannot be done, but in knowing what must be done. And also in knowing, how did you say it to me then so long ago? The kairos, the critical moment." "Please, Laverne, this is the critical moment. My God," Joseph cried. But it was clear, even in his despair, that the situation was utterly hopeless. He dropped to his knees there on the cliff, face buried in hands, and he prayed as the crash of felled trees below mingled with the horrifying screams of death. He heard these sounds together, drifting like wraiths across the silent waters. After a moment, Joseph felt Lavernios' comforting hand resting on his hair, his voice strangely tranquil, as he found a hidden core of hope that he alone could see. There are two things the gods demand, he told Joseph. We must go at once, tonight, and sacrifice all the potent objects we possess. Cast them into the holy waters of the Lyn Carrigbach, the lake of small stone. What then? Whispered Joseph. If that does not turn the tide, said Lavernios gravely, it may come to pass we will have to send the messenger, ... The messenger from the south had arrived at the far side of the island just after dawn, as Suetonius Paulinus was watching the last tree fall. It was an ancient tree, the oldest of literally thousands, in a wood that had taken all night for his legion to reduce to complete devastation. The tree had a girth of more than 60 feet. His garrison engineers had calculated that it was the size of a galley under full oar. Lying on its side, as now, it was the height of one of those 3-story buildings they'd constructed along the African coast when he was governor of Mauritania. How could a tree grow to become, Suetonius wondered, how old could a tree grow to become? Would its rings, if he could take the time to count them, number as many as those lives his troops had obliterated that night? Would the death of this tree, as with other holy trees, in the end mark the death of the Druids, as they seemed themselves to believe? Erasing these thoughts for more practical matters, Suetonius set his men to work stacking up the dark-clad corpses of the dead Druids and building bonfires for their cremation. Then, recalling the Emperor Nero's chief request, he sent a posse of soldiers off to explore the island. For Nero had written he had cause to believe from his late stepfather and great-uncle Claudius that the Druids held many valuable treasures in strongholds exactly like this one at Mona. Nero wished to be informed of any such findings at once. The important business underway, Suetonius Paulinus remembered the messenger and beckoned to have him brought where he'd been waiting. I wonder if there's two different messengers. Okay. The soldier looked rather the worse for wear after his lengthy journey. Further, Suetonius was informed the fellow's wet and bedraggled appearance was the result of his plunge into water to cross the narrow strait to the island, along with his horse, only moments before. The frothing horse, still lathered despite its dip in the channel, was led away as the messenger was brought to the governor's side. Take your time, catch some breath, man, Suetonius reassured the messenger. However important your news, don't expire before delivering it. Camelodunum, grasped the messenger. Suetonius realized for the first time how ill the man seemed. His parched lips caked with blood and dust, his eyes drifting aimlessly, his short-cropped hair as disheveled as those Druid cadavers that littered the ground around them. Suetonius snapped his fingers for a skin of fresh water and handed it to the messenger. When he'd drunk and cleared the dust from his throat, the governor nodded for him to continue. But the chap still seemed crazed, though, of course, all his men were seasoned soldiers. He wondered if perhaps the sight of these corpses that were practically waded in, male and female, might not have driven his senses momentarily from him. Come now, Suetonius said firmly. You've traveled all this way, over 200 miles, at what was clearly breakneck pace. You've something urgent to tell me about Camelodunum. All dead, the messenger croaked. Thousands, tens of thousands. all dead. And the city, the Claudian temple, all of it burned to the ground. The man began weeping. Suetonius, at first astounded, quickly turned furious. He drew back his hand and, slashed the fellow brutally across the face. You're a soldier, man, he reminded him. In the name of Jupiter, pull yourself together. What happened at Camalodunum? Has there been an earthquake, a fire? A native uprising, sire, the messenger said, gulping the air. The Iceni and the Trinovantes, perhaps some tribes from the Cornwall as well. We're not sure yet. And where was the 9th Legion, Hispania, all this while? Demanded Suetonius with ice in his voice. Was the commander mending his toga while tribes of barefoot natives were burning the cities he's supposed to be defending? These are no barefoot provincials, sire, but fully armed troops, perhaps 200,000 or more, the soldier told him. Its commander, Petilius Cerilius himself, who sent me to you, just as fast as I could traverse the country and get here. Half the 9th Legion has been destroyed. 2,500 of the men I was with, who went in to attempt a rescue of the town. The Roman procurator, Decianus, has fled with his officers to the mainland, and Petilius is barricaded within his own fortress, awaiting reinforcements he prays you will bring. Nonsense. How could a handful of uneducated primitive Britons destroy half a Roman garrison and drive out chief colonial administrator? Suetonius said, not even trying to disguise his contempt for a people he'd come to loathe. He spat on the ground and added, they don't even make good slaves, much less good soldiers. Yet they possess many weapons, full horse and chariot, the soldier told him. Their women fight alongside the men and are far more vicious. At Camalodunum, the atrocities I've witnessed, sire, are nearly beyond comprehension. They slaughtered old and young, civilian and soldier, mother and child alike, with no distinction, so long as they were killing the Romans or our collaborators. I saw the corpses of Roman women with babies and men who were crucified along the streets. The gods forgive me to say it, but they had their, okay. I'm not going to tell you that disgusting part. The messenger fell silent, eyes glazed over with a look of terror that clearly his arduous journey had done little to assuage. Suetonius sighed. And what paragon of a commander am I to guess they found to lead them in this expedition? He asked in disgust. It's Boudica, queen of the Iceni, sire, who is their leader, said the messenger. These savages would follow a woman into battle, said Suetonius, exhibiting real shock for the first time. Please, sire, said the messenger. Commander Petilius begs you to make haste. From what I've witnessed myself, the rebellion is far from over. It fattens, the more blood it's fed. Camalodunum is lost. They are now headed toward Londium. Londium? Yeah. And we're going to stop there because that's the next section. Well, a little bit of a brutal, and I'll put that I'll try to remember to put that in the description just as a forewarning. It's a battle scene. So, okay. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.